Hello everyone, I just had my package arrive. Something I haven't talked about. Probably the rarest model I own. Because there's only been 29 that are sold, or at least documented on Worth Point. And I don't know how much they sell for usually, but it's quite a rare one. Because it's vac form, very limited run. So, let's look at this. Fairey spearfish. The spearfish, well, let's give a bit of history, was supposed to be a replacement for a dive bomber and a torpedo aircraft. It was supposed to replace the ferry Barracuda and the TBF Avenger in FAA service. But by the time they had finished the first few prototypes, the war was over. It was supposed to have a remote controlled turret, it was supposed to have 2 crew, and a retractable radar. It also had very heavy ailerons, which made it very hard to turn, and so they never put it into service. 5 were built, 1 crashed and unfortunately killed its test pilot, and the only other model kit of it is resin. This is by Contrail. They're probably the best vac form company you'll see, because they actually make them with thick plastic. Does say considerable modelling skill required, and injection UC, not sure what that means, metal props, decals, drawings and instructions and photographs. Unfortunately, it got a bit damaged, and there's a few stains just from the rain, but these are like grease stains. So I've already opened it. This was resealed. The guy just wanted to check it was fully complete, and I just checked it was fully complete earlier. So this is the model. If you don't know what a vac form model is, then you've probably heard of vac form canopies. It's basically vac form canopies, and vac form canopies are the same process as a vac form model. You melt some plastic and get a vacuum suction to put into the mold space. So we got this. I don't know what this is for. I believe there's some landing gear bits that needs doing, some landing gear struts. Like the main parts of landing gear are here. Let's zoom in. This isn't like copper wire, I believe it's plastic. So we'll keep that. That might also be for doing the ribs of the aircraft, because you usually end up having to do ribs for these. We have 2 bits of plasticard, but they don't look like they've fallen off. When I mean plasticard, I mean like the actual bits. These were just in here. I think one of these is to hold the decals, this one. And this one's to hold the metal parts, because this one's got the tape. So this is probably how thick plastic is. So that's how flexible it is. It's very tough compared to other vac form models where they're as thin as these paper cups. It's pretty good. So let's move on to, I guess you would call it sprue 1 or sheet 1. There isn't really anywhere to say what number it is. Spearfish is just one of the collection, because Fairey is my favourite aviation company, especially from the Second World War. I just like the Barracuda, Battle, Fulmer, and so on. And the Spearfish is probably the rarest one to have in your collection of Fairey aircraft, since there are 2 models which are both short run and very rare. Okay. This is the other sides of the aircraft. Let's just say it's got like matchbox panel lines. If you know, you know. I mean, the detail's quite bad. I'm not sure if you'd be able to describe it because of how fragile this is. Now, you're definitely going to have to cut out the cockpit canopy. Which is in here. Okay. So we got the wing. It has these wheel wells in here. So this is 50% larger than the Barracuda. So it's quite a large aircraft. We have the tailplane here with the elevators. There we have two bulkheads for the cockpit floor. We have some doors for the landing gear. This is the retractable turret, the retractable radar and the turret, which aren't even ready for this scheme. So the scheme you get is a silver, which the silver one, which is the one supplied, never even had this radar. The radar was only mounted on this other version. So you could get some replacement decals, which I'm actually probably going to do. Well, I've had bad luck with silver at the moment. It just shows off all the blemishes. Plastic. The engine is, well, it's quite ropey. But I mean, vac form parts are quite ropey usually. I'll save these for later, but they're on top. So you have these three parts, which I'm not actually sure what they're for. I could apply a wash to show where the power lines are, because, I mean, it's alright, but they're way too thick. But it's hard to get things in the gaps with vac form. And then we have this, which has a control panel, which has lots of the instruments on. These are the seats, which you'll need to cut out, like all the other parts. And we'll look at the instructions, which are over there, and they're over there. But we'll look at those in a minute. We've just got these parts, which I've got to be very careful with. So this kit, we don't even really know when it came out, which is a bit of a worry. But it could be any time from the 80s to the 90s, maybe 2000s. I think it's probably from the 80s. It's currently raining. And you can hear, I don't know if you can hear it, but there's some thunder in the background. So you have the two landing gear legs. These are the main legs, but there are struts that go and hold them up, which I believe you have to do yourself. My first vac form canopy. It's very thick, but just try not to snap it if you get one of these. You have these two wheels. Then we have this one rear wheel, which I'm not sure if you'll have to, I believe you might have to make the actual leg for it. It's pretty, well, as they say, a lot of considerable work. And then this heavy metal prop, which is really cool, to be honest. It's quite heavy, and I mean quite big. I'm not even sure how I'm going to paint this, but that's exciting. Let's move it off to the side, just don't want to lose those bits. I'm going to zoom out for this part. You know what, I'm going to put these bits aside, because this thing, as I've opened it already, It is massive. So this gives you some reference photos, some for the other schemes, and some. This is another part. So there's some decals we'll quickly look at. So I've got to say decent. They look actually quite. They don't look too thick, which is good. Unfortunately, they've yellowed over the 30 or 40 years that this kit's been out, probably. I'd say about 30 years, 40 years maybe. Probably about 35. So, these are going to have to be de-yellowed. People have processes for this. This probably won't be too bad if you do one of, like, a different scheme. I'm not sure how much yellow shows up on silver, but I'd say de-yellow them. It's mainly these. Now, if I do end up replacing these, well, I'm probably not going to need them. So, considerably less de-yellowing. So, let's open it up. Quickly look at the back. So at the top we have this pilot press. This is the turreted and one with the radar. And then there's another pilot press here as well, which is weird because they're currently showing all of the prototype with the radar. Or at least all the ones with the turret. Then there's this one, which has a red tail fin. I believe this one's 351, which is probably quite easy to make because you've got 356. Somehow you probably make a black line that represents a 1, and you can have a bit of colour to it. And then we have another one down here. It just is a Napier. I assume this is one with a different engine, which is the one we've got supplied. And then we have this, which I believe this is like to size to the kit. So you can lay it on top and just measure it all, which is quite nice. It will help a lot with locating everything. And it says G and R show the gun and radar locations on the production aircraft. Only RN 241 completed. So RN 241 is the only one that has these parts. So let's zoom down there. Yeah, there's quite a lot there. But the undercarriage detail, there's this strut, I believe, and that strut are missing. So you're going to have to make that yourself. Cockpit doesn't have too much detail, so you might want to upgrade that. And then you have these instructions. Which just there's a lot. Let me just zoom out a bit. Pause that if you want to read all of that. But we got reference material. What's nice is reference material refers to this book, which actually the seller who I bought this from was actually selling. So obviously he was intending to build this at some point. Use it as reference material probably. Or whoever he got this from. So this is very nice. Like, as they say, considerable work if I had to rate it on the Airfix like difficulty scale, and I don't mean like model kit, like at a skill level 4, skill level 1 to 4, I probably say it's like 3 or a 4, because this is definitely going to be the most difficult build most people are going to do, just because vac form is very annoying. There's a lot of work you have to do to get right. So I'm probably going to make a build video on this, because one thing I will say is this kit overall on the internet has 2 photos of it built. So only 2 people, I mean one guy who's like on Worth Point, sold a built kit, and that's the only image of someone who's built it. Meaning that not only will I be the first person to make a video documenting this kit, but I'll probably be the 30th person to ever own it that we know of. So this is going to be very exciting. And if you want to know how much I want it for, I really didn't pay that much for this rare model. I paid £13 for the actual kit, and then about £3 postage. That's quite good for what this is. So anyways, I'll be back soon, probably to build it, and I'll see you then. So goodbye for now, and see you in the next video.